Hello, welcome to our second video in the series where we solve the questions in the 2019 May-June Elective Math WASSCE Paper 1. We have question 11 here, and we are given this problem. Given that 1 over x squared minus 4 is equivalent to p over x plus 2 plus q over x minus 2, where x is not equal to plus or minus 2, find the value of p plus q. Okay, so here we have partial fractions, but even if we didn't know about partial fractions, we could solve this problem. We could just treat it as ordinary fractions, and then we could rewrite the right hand side. So p plus x over p over x plus 2 plus q over x minus 2 can be written as x plus 2 times x minus 2. That's a type of common multiple. So we write p times x minus 2, and then we write plus q times x plus 2. So this is equivalent to 1 over x squared minus 4. The bottom, what we have at the bottom here, is equal to this. If you expand this, this is what you're going to get. And so since these two sides are equivalent, it means that for every value of x apart from these ones, the left hand side is equal to the right hand side. And if the denominators are equal, then the numerators also must be equal. So we can write that p times x minus 2 plus q times x plus 2 is equivalent to 1. And then we can choose convenient values for x that are going to eliminate one of them, and we proceed. So let's say so what we are dealing with, the equation or the identity we are dealing with, is this: p times x minus 2 plus q times x plus 2 is now identical to 1. So if we let x, so when x equals 2, what do we get? If you put x equals 2 here, you will get 2 minus 2, which is 0. So p times 0, it disappears. Then over here you get q times 2 plus 2, which is 4, is 1. So 4q equals 1, and q equals 1/4. Now when x is minus 2, what do we have? Well, this term disappears, because when you put x equals minus 2 here, you have minus 2 plus 2, which is 0. So this goes away. But over here you have p times minus 2 equals 1. This is p times minus 4 equals 1. It means that p equals minus 1 over 4. So we have p equals minus 1 over 4, and q is 1/4. So p plus q must be 0. Alright. In the next question, we're asked to find the sum of the first 20 terms of the sequence -7, -3, 1. It goes on and on. Now, if we observe that this is an AP, an arithmetic progression, because we can add a constant term to get to the next one. If we add 4 to this -7, we get -3. If we add 4 to -3, we get 1. And so if we were to continue this, we'd have to add 4, we'll get 5. We add 4 again, we'll get 9. Add 4 again, and then it goes on and on. So that is our arithmetic progression. It's conventional to call the first term A, our first term is minus 7. Our common difference is 4. And we are looking for the sum of the first 20 terms. Now, if you remember the formula, there is a formula for the sum of the first n terms of an arithmetic progression. And it's n over 2 times 2a plus n minus 1d. This is a useful formula, so if you can remember it, that's very good. If you also remember it as Sn equals that a plus l, n over 2 times a plus l, where a is the first term and l is the last term, you can use that as well. So either of these formulae is fine, and we just have to substitute the values for n, a, and d. So S20, which is what we're looking for, S20, if we're looking for S20, then n equals 20. So S20 equals 20 over 2. Then we have 2a plus n minus 1, 20 minus 1, d. d is 4. This is what we get. Now, this is 10. This is minus 14. This is 19 times 4. And then we have 10 into minus 14. 19 by 4 is 76. So this is equal to 10 times, what is 76 minus 14? That's 62. So we have 10 times 62, which is equal to 620. All right, the next question says find the value of x for which 6 times this quantity equals 13x, where x is greater than 0. This means that x is positive. One way to proceed is to square both sides. Normally when you see a square root, you want to get rid of it. So we can square both sides, and when we do that, we square this, we get 6 times 6 is what? 36. When we square this, it removes the square root, so we have this, and then we square 13x. What do we get? 13 squared is 169. So this is what we get. We simplify further. 36 times 4 is 144. X squared plus 36 equals 169 x squared. And then we can group like terms. We have 36 equals 169 minus 144. That's 25. 25x squared. So what do we get? We get x squared equals 36 over 25. Sorry, x squared. So we find x by taking the square root. Normally when you take the square root, you have to consider both the positive and the negative square root. But here, we've been told that x is only positive, so we don't consider the negative square root. And so x equals that. But this is the same as square root of 36 over square root of 25. And what does that give us? It gives us 6 over 5. So our answer is C. All right, next question is question 14. Calculate the distance between points -2, -5, and -1, 3. Now, if you remember the formula for the distance between 2 points, when the coordinates of the points are x1, y1, and x2, y2, then then the formula for the distance is the square root of x1 minus x2 all squared plus y1 minus y2 all squared, the square root of that. Okay. But if you also think graphically in terms of your coordinate system, then you have, these are 2 points in the plane, so you can sort of estimate where the points are. -2, -5, you can put it somewhere here, and then -1, 3, you can put it somewhere here. So these are your 2 points, and then if you extend or produce the horizontal and vertical lines, you get sort of a triangle, a right angle triangle. So if you know this leg, the length of that leg, and the length of this leg, that's how you get this formula. So you can use that, whichever one you prefer, -2, -5, and then this is -1, 3. So you find the distances. For the x coordinate, you see that we move from -2 to -1, so we just move 1 step. For the y coordinates, we move from -5 to 3, so to do that you need to move 8 steps. So we now have a right angle triangle with one leg having length 1, the other leg having length 8, and we are supposed to find the hypotenuse. So the hypotenuse is the square root of the squares of these lengths, and when we do that, what do we get? 1 squared plus 8 squared is 65, and so we have the square root of 65 as our answer. We'll get the same thing if we do this. In fact, what we just did is the same thing as what this formula is saying. All right, the next question, 15. P equals this matrix, Q equals this vector, and PQ, which is the product of the matrix and the vector, is equal to this, and we are supposed to find the value of K. So we first do this matrix vector multiplication. What do we get? We multiply 2 by 6, that's 12. We multiply 3 by 8, which is 24. So that gives us the top component, and then the bottom component is -4 times 6, which is -24, and then we have 1 times 8, which is 8. So this is our vector. Interestingly, we really didn't need to calculate this bottom component, because when you have a vector, 2 vectors being equal, we know that this vector is equal to what? It's equal to K times 45 minus 20. So we basically have, what this means is that it's equal to 45K minus 20K. So this is our vector. Now if this vector is equal to this vector, what does it mean? It means that the top components are the same. 45K equals 12 plus 24, and the bottom components are also the same. So our equation is 12 plus 24 equals 45K. Now 12 plus 24 is equal to 36. So 36 equals 45K, and K equals what? 36 over 45, which is equal to 4 over 5. You can divide both by 9 to get this. So this is what we get. Now just to show, you can see from here that we didn't really use the bottom component. Now what this means is that if we use the bottom component, we should get the same result. So we can just cross-check that if we set minus 24 plus, so minus 24 plus 8, if we set it equal to minus 20K, we expect to get the same result. Let's see if that happens. So minus 24 plus 8 is what? Is minus 16. So minus 16 equals minus 20k. That means that k equals 16 over 20. And 16 over 20 is also equal to 4 over 5 if you divide both the numerator and denominator by 4. So same result. Alright, the next problem. The second and fourth terms of an exponential sequence, or GP. Exponential sequence is also geometric progression. That's where GP comes from. So geometric progression. Okay, so the second and fourth terms are 2 9ths and 8 over 81. Find the sixth term of the sequence. Well, so again, if you know the formula, it looks like we're using a lot of the questions are such that if you know the formula, you can just quickly write things down. So if you know the formula for the nth term of a geometric sequence, you know that the nth term is ar to the power n minus 1, where a is the first term, r is the common ratio, and n is the term you want. So you know this formula, you can use it. And if you use it in this case, it says that the second term, which means n is 2, so we have, if you like, let me write this as un equals that. So u2, which is the second term, equals ar2 minus 1, which is the same as ar, if you like, ar to the 1, but that's the same as ar. And we are told that that's equal to 2 over 9. And then we have u4, which is equal to ar4 minus 1, which is ar cubed, and that's equal to 8 over 81. Alright, so now we are looking for the sixth term, u6, which by what we've written is ar6 minus 1. It's the same as ar5. So we know ar, we know ar cubed. We are looking for ar to the power 5. One way to do this is to solve for r. If we find r, then we know we can get, well, we can solve for both r and a and use this, but we can also, if we manage to find r, then because we already know ar cubed, we can just multiply ar cubed by r 2 times to get the answer. So we can divide this expression by this expression. So if you write ar to the third over ar, that's equal to what? That's equal to 8 over 81. 8 over 81 over 2 over 9. And what do we get? Well, the a's cancel, and we have r squared equals, well, let's write this in the conventional way. You're dividing fractions, so you multiply by the reciprocal of the denominator. And what do we get? We can cancel. 9 cancels, we get a 9. 2 cancels, we get a 4. So we get r squared equals 4 over 9. Now, what I was saying was that we are looking for ar to the power 5, and we already have ar cubed. So we can multiply ar cubed. If you multiply ar cubed by r squared, ar cubed dot r squared equals AR to the power 5. What it means is that if we multiply 8 over 81 by 4 over 9, we'll get AR5, which is our answer. And if we do that calculation, what do we get? 8 4 is 32, and 81 times 9 is 729. So that's our answer. All right, next question is question 17. It says points X and Y are on the same horizontal base as the foot of a building, such that X is 96 meters due east of the building and Y is due west. So we have this horizontal base. Our building is somewhere here. We can call it B, just so we remember that this is our building. And it's saying that X is 96 meters due east of the building. So X is here, and this length is 96 we write 96, but we'll remember that it's meters. And then Y is due west, so Y is here. And then it says if the angle of elevation of the top of the building from X is 30 degrees. So this tells us, as we should have known, that our building has a height, and it's saying that the angle of elevation of the top, so this is the top of the building, from X, so from here, the angle of elevation, it says, is 30 degrees. So we have 30 degrees here, and the angle of elevation from Y, it says that one is 60 degrees. Okay, and we are supposed to calculate the distance of Y from the building. So this distance is what we are looking for. You can call it YB, but maybe let's just call it D. If we call this distance D, then what do we know? Because this angle is a right angle triangle, both of these are, we know that the top here is 30 degrees, and we know that the top here is 60 degrees. So that is helpful. We can write D in terms of the trig ratios of these angles. For instance, we know that the tangent of this angle is going to be this side over this side, which is D. So we don't really know this side yet, but because this is 96, we can also use the fact that the tangent of this angle is this side over 96. So if we call this side H, then what do we know? We know that the tangent, we know that tan 30 degrees equals what? H over 96. So here we are using SOHCAHTOA. If you recall that. So the tangent is the opposite over the adjacent. So the tangent of this is the opposite, which is H, over the adjacent, which is 96. So from this we can get H equals 96 tan 30 degrees. And we know that tan 30 degrees is the square root of 3 over 3. So we have 96 times the square root of 3 over 3, which is equal to 32 times the square root of 3. So that is H. And we can use that h to find d, because we also know that the tangent of 60 degrees, so tangent of 60 degrees using this one is equal to what? Is equal to opposite, which is h, over d. And d is what we want. So we know that the tangent of 60 degrees is the square root of 3. But let me just simplify or rearrange so that we have d on the left. So d equals h over the tangent of 60 degrees. And what is h? H, we found it to be 32 times the square root of 3. And what is the tangent of 60? Is the square root of 3. So we have 32 times the square root of 3 over the square root of 3. So we just cancel out square root of 3 and we are left with 32. So our answer is 32 meters. Alright, the next question is to find the coordinates of the point on the curve y equals that where the tangent is parallel to the line y minus 5 equals 8x. Now, the key insight we need here is that the tangent is parallel to some line. And when two lines are parallel, what do we know about their gradients? We know that their gradients are the same. And we know that the gradient of a curve at a point is the gradient of the tangent to that curve at that point. So what this is saying is that if we were to find the gradient of this curve then at a certain point, that gradient will be equal to the gradient of this line. And I assume we know the gradient of this line. This line is really in the form y equals mx plus c. So when that is the case, the gradient is just m. Y minus 5 equals 8x is the same as y equals 8x plus 5. So our gradient is 8. So we are going to set 8 equal to something. Now the gradient of this, we need to differentiate. So dy dx of this function is what? Is 6x minus 2. That's the derivative of this function. So the gradient of this function or this curve at every point x can be gotten from this expression. And we've been told that it is now equal to this number, which is 8. So we now have to find the value of x at which this happens. And we have 6x equals 8 plus 2, which is 10. So x equals 10 over 6, which is 5 over 3. Looking at the options, the only one which has x being equal to 5 over 3 is b. But of course, to be sure, we could substitute this value of x into the equation of the curve to see if we get this value of y, this 0. So that would be a good way to check our answer. So let's quickly do that. We have 3 times x squared, so 5 over 3 squared minus 2 times 5 over 3 minus 5. What does this give us? Well, a number of ways to do this, but let's do it the straightforward way. Let's just square 5 over 3 and we get what? 25 over 9. So just get 3 times 25 over 9 minus 2 times that is 10 over 3, and then we have this minus 5. So what do we get from here? 3 cancels, so we have 25 over 3 minus 10 over 3 minus 5. And then what does this give us? 25/3 minus 10/3 is 15/3. 15/3 is the same as 5. So we know that this number is equal to 0 as expected. So we have more confidence in our answer that it's B. Alright, the next is number 19. If the mean of these numbers 2, 5, x plus 1, x plus 2, and 7 and 9 is 6. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 numbers, and their mean is 6. We are supposed to find the median. Well, the mean of a set of numbers is just the sum of those numbers divided by how many numbers there are. So we just have to add up all these numbers and divide by 6, which is how many of them we have. So what do we do? 2 plus 5 is 7, plus 1, 8, plus 2, 10, plus 7, 17, plus 9, 26. So we have 26 plus, we now add the x's. So 26 plus 2x, if we divide this number by 6, we get 6. That means that 26 plus 2x equals 36. It means that 2x equals 36 minus 26 is 10. X equals 5. So if we substitute x equals 5 into these numbers, this sequence of numbers, what do we get? We get 2, 5, 6, 7, 7, and 9. These are the 6 numbers. And now we are supposed to find the median. The median is the middle number. But here the middle is no man's land, where we have 3 on one side and 3 on the other side. When that happens, you take the two middle numbers, 6 and 7, and you find their mean. And when you do that, you get 6.5. The mean of 6 and 7 is just the midpoint between them, which is 6.5. Alright, so we go to the last question in this series. We want to keep the videos short, so we're doing 10 questions per video. So the next 10 questions are going to be in the last video. And this question says, calculate the mean deviation of 5, 8, 2, 9, and 6. So first we need to find what the numbers are deviating from. Normally we find the deviation from the mean. So we need to find the mean of these numbers, and we have to add them up. So 5 plus 8 is 13, plus 2 is 15, 9 plus 6 is also 15. So when we add the 2, we get 30. And then we divide by how many numbers there are. There are 5 of them, so the mean is 6. And then we now have to find the deviation of each of these numbers. Just to keep things organized, we can write the numbers down, 5, and write its deviation from 6. That's just the difference, the positive difference from 6. 5 minus 6 or 6 minus 5. If you do 5 minus 6, you get minus 1, but we are interested in the absolute value of that. So the mean, the deviation from the mean is 1. For 8, the deviation is 2. So if you like, you can write here, normally you would write x, but here let's just write number. And then let's say here deviation from, what are we deviating from? We are deviating from 6, which is the mean. Alright, so we have 2. The deviation of 2 from 6 is 4. The deviation of 9 from 6 is 3. And the deviation of 6 from 6 is 0. So these are now our deviations. We can add up our deviations, 1 plus 2 plus 4 plus 3. What does that give us? 10. And then we now have to divide by how many numbers there are. There are 5 numbers. So if we divide this deviation by 5, we're going to get the mean deviation. So 10 over 5 is the mean deviation, and that gives us 2. So we come to the end of this video. Like I said, the remaining problems are going to be solved in subsequent videos, so you can look out for those as well. See you later. Bye.